Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie, and if you're new here, I live off-grid in this little cabin. Me and my husband moved in January, but we were renovating for about a year prior to that. And today I'm going to talk to you about our rainwater catchment system. So all of our water is harvested from rainwater, and that is all we use in our house for everything. So today I'm going to show you how our system is set up and just give you a rundown of everything that we went through, so that if you're thinking about harvesting rainwater, this will be a little insight on how we did it and just a video that I wish I had when we were deciding what to do. So here we go. So first you're going to need to figure out how much water you really need, how much water you use on a daily basis, and how much water you plan to use on a daily basis. So for Dylan and I, it's just us two, and we shower every couple of days, and we use it for cooking or drinking water and things like that. And we only have a bathtub, so we don't have a shower. We only have a bathtub, but it does have a shower head, so you could choose to shower if you wanted to. And then flushing toilets and things like that, but that's it. And so we don't need a ton of water. When we looked up what the average person uses a day, it was around like 50 gallons a day, which I don't think we use even close to 50 gallons a day, but that is how you will determine how big of a tank you need to store your water. So our water system is gravity fed. That way we don't have to worry about having electricity for any pumps or anything like that. Our system, we harvest all our rainwater and it's kept close to the cabin, and then we use a gas powered water pump, and we pump it up like every time it rains or once our tanks are full. That way we don't have to have a water pump going all the time, and that way it can be just gravity fed down from the hill, which I will show you guys. So we do have a propane water heater. We actually went through 3 different water heaters before we found one that would work for us. Originally I wanted to get a tankless propane water heater so that we weren't it didn't take up a lot of space, because it's a small cabin. It's just basically one room with a bathroom and a little mud room, and then we built a loft inside. If you want to see that, there's other videos on it, but we decided on a propane water heater that is not tankless. This was because, one, we didn't have enough PSI or water pressure for a tankless hot water heater, which is something you need, and we also found that most of them needed to be mounted outside, and then you also had to keep the water from freezing, which did take electricity. So most of the tankless hot water heaters that we saw had to use some sort of electricity, and we didn't want that. We wanted completely propane because we do run on solar, so we were worried about the electric intake, the electric usage. Okay, so figuring out your water can be a little tricky because you need to know some things before you get started. You need to know how much rainwater you get monthly in the area that you're going to live. So in Kentucky, where we are living, on average it rains about 3 inches per month, which is great. You then calculate that by figuring out how big the surface area of your roof is to see how much water you would collect per inch of rain. And so once you have that calculated, then you can decide how big of a water tank you want to have, and so that however much it rains, if it rains a lot but all at once, you want to have a lot of storage so that you can have water throughout the month, depending if you have wet seasons or dry seasons. We got really lucky because in Kentucky, like I said, is about averages 3 inches per month, which is perfect. So we went with a 2,000 gallon water tank, and we put that up on a hill behind our cabin, and it is about 50 feet higher than the cabin where the water will be coming out. So that is the amount of elevation that we had to get the water pressure that we currently have, which I will show you guys. So you have to calculate how big your roof is, how much water you're going to get per month in the area that you're living. Do that calculation to see how much water storage you need for your personal usage, depending on whatever that is. Then from there, this is how our water gets into our house. So this is our little cabin. She's a work in progress, but we put up gutters. She is beautiful. We put up gutters all along this front part. So this is the main living area. And then this back part originally was a really old cabin, but we tore out the whole inside. But we did add gutters to this also, so we could capture as much rainwater as possible. Right now, we actually have nothing really preventing from things getting in our gutters, except for this big foam thing that is over top of the hole for our gutter so that only the water can get through, and there's one on each spout. So their gutters just run down, and they both run into this PVC pipe, 4-inch sewer pipe here. And we made sure that it was really wide so that if it was raining a ton, it wouldn't get backed up because it does have 2 gutters running into it. And so this is the one side of the cabin, and the other side has the same exact setup, and it runs down and it runs under the cabin through there, and they attach right here. Under there, we drilled a small hole in that PVC so that if water ever got stuck down there in the winter months or in the summer months, it will just slowly drain out so that if it does freeze, it won't freeze the pipe. So we drilled a little hole underneath because it's not at a perfect downward slant. Then, once the water comes out of the gutters and down, we then buried the pipe under the ground here because this is kind of a driveway. This is where we drive. And then it pops out over here on the other side of the driveway. It's very messy over here. Just don't judge yet, you know. It's a mess, but this is what it's like. So it comes out of the ground. Here, and it first flows into this 55-gallon barrel. And as you can see, it's like overflowed. And so that is our first flush diverter. So all of the leaves or things that flow off the gutters that that we didn't catch, then will flow into this one first, and it will just catch all of the debris that was left on the roof. So then once that's full, it gets backed up back into the tank, and then it will flow over into our 500-gallon water tank. So this is our 500-gallon water tank, and I'm pretty sure it should be full to the brim. Yep, there she is. So it is full. We got a nice heavy rain. As you can see, the water looks good. It doesn't look too dirty at all. So this is where the water is stored when it's raining. Once that is full, once our 500-gallon water tank is full, then we use a gasoline-powered water pump to pump it up the hill where it stays until it comes down through the faucet. So here's the pump we use. We got it from Harbor Freight, and disclaimer, I mean, it works, but it's not great. I mean, it's a little finicky, but it works for us. It was really cheap, but I will try to find a link and put it in the description below. If you do have this water pump, it has to be completely level in order to run, so keep that in mind when installing. Also some details, so like this just runs right into the top of there, and then this comes out of the bottom, and we just have an on-off valve there so that we could hook up the gas water pump. And here is our gas water pump, so it connects right there, and then it comes out right here, and it's just a pull start gas pump. And then from there we have the black water line that goes all the way up the hill to that water tank up there. In the summer months, we just keep our water pump hooked up. In the winter, though, we have to completely drain everything so that the lines don't freeze. So it's a little more difficult. We didn't get the rainwater catchment system up until March, so I'm not really sure what it will be like in the winter, so we'll have to see what that is like in the future. All right, just walked up the hill to catch my breath, but this is our water tank. So this is a 2,000-gallon water tank. It is white. It needs to be covered because in the summer and in the sun, it's kind of covered in the shade all the time, but it can grow algae. So we need to cover it with like a black tarp or something so that less algae will grow. All right, so we bought this tank used, so it already had this spout on the top and on the bottom, which I will show you. So up here, this is where the water flows in. So this is where the water gets pumped up and it falls into the tank right up here. And then we buried the tank around 2 feet into the ground. We buried it, and there is an on-off valve also at the bottom, which is under this box that we buried. And we did that so that if in an emergency, we could turn off the water up here. And we also have one at the bottom. So you can see right now we have about 500 gallons of water in the tank. And that is it. This is where our water is held. What do you think is going on here? What is that? Gross. All right, so the reason our water tank is up here, like I said, is so that we could get the water pressure we wanted in the house without having to use any water pumps all the time or anything like that. So we tried to calculate. I think this is around 50 feet above the cabin. I'll show you where the cabin is from here. Like in elevation, it's higher than the cabin, around there. Maybe not that high, maybe higher, probably not higher. But this is our water tank. We bought it used. If you ever need to clean out a water tank, take it to the car wash, especially if you don't have water yet. Pro tip. Also, if it has just rained, then we'll usually wait a couple of days before pumping up the water because that gives the water time to settle and all of the debris will fall to the bottom. So in that black tank down there, we'll probably wait a couple days after it rains and then we'll pump it up so that the water is settled and it just gets out some more of that sediment that would be found in the rainwater. All right, so from our water tank, our line is buried. Coming out of that box, it's buried, I think it's like 2 feet underground, at least 14 inches. You have to look up the frost line in your area for how deep you need to bury your water line. For us, I'm pretty sure we did 14 inches deep at least. And we buried it all the way down to the house. So there is our water tank. And then right down here is the cabin. And we buried the water line all the way through and down to the house. And I'll show you where it goes in. All right, so this is the other side of the cabin and the water line just runs right in and we went through the wall there. All right, now we're in the house, so the water runs down and if we run it into the house through the wall, and then it's actually hidden now because we put a cabinet around it, but it comes in, there's on-off valves outside, there's an on-off valve inside, and then we run it into our hot water heater. So before it goes into the hot water heater, it goes through our 2 filters. So we have a 20 micron filter and a 5 micron filter. And then, so these are it. It's actually really clear. It looks good. And then, so after it goes through the 2 filters, then it runs into our hot water heater. And like I said, we decided on this 30-gallon propane water heater and we have loved it. So you can adjust the temperature on it, like high and low. You can turn it off easily and turn it back on. And it was really easy to set up. We did everything ourselves, but we did that all by ourselves without anybody else's help. That was like one of our first projects when we got here by ourselves. So we wanted a tankless, but we couldn't find one that worked for us, for our needs. And we wanted hot water. Like we didn't want to give up hot water living out here. So that thing can put out some hot water. You got to be careful not to burn yourself. It's big, but it works, and it works for filling our bathtub, which is the question I get asked a lot on Instagram, is if our hot water heater can fill our bathtub with hot water, and it absolutely can. We do it all the time. So after the hot water heater, we just simply plumb the rest of the house. So we have a bathtub, a bathroom sink, and a kitchen sink, and a toilet. And that is all the water that is in our house, and it's all ran along 3 walls, so it's was really simple to plumb. But I'll show you guys what our water pressure is like. So here's our little bathtub. Here's the cold water. Oh, so this is our shower head, and it works great. And this is our cold water and our hot water. So here's our kitchen sink, and it's great. It's plenty of water pressure. With that 2,000-gallon water tank, we never really have to worry about running out of water or anything. We have plenty. It lasts us about a month, I'd say, which is great because it rains on average 3 inches a month. So that is enough for us to live off of the 2,000 gallons in 1 month with 2 people. For our drinking water, we then fill up a Berkey. So we run all of our drinking water through this Berkey water filter, which I have a link in the description below if you're interested in something like this. The Berkey is great because you can literally put any water into it and it will filter it. It's expensive, but it's worth it because we don't have to worry about buying drinking water or buying water bottles or anything like that. And this filters everything out. So this is our little Berkey, and we just fill it up with like a water jug right here in the top, and then it just slowly filters through the system. And I think this is a 3-gallon water filter. And it's perfect. It will even filter out like red dye and things like that. So it's a really good water filter. All right, guys, that is our entire water system, our rain catchment system with a gravity-fed water. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments below, and I'll be sure to get back to you as best I can. But thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you have not yet. That really, really helps my channel. And if you want to see, if you're new here and you haven't seen our cabin reno yet, I'll put a little box to our going off-grid in Kentucky. So we've lived here about 5 months now, and we absolutely love it. It was all the hard work was worth it. But if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like or comment, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't. Thanks so much for watching.
This has been